What's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. As you can tell by the title of this video, it's going to be all about eyeshadow palettes, which we love here, always. I saw Michelle Wong do this eyeshadow palette tag. She said she saw Samantha March and Allie Glines do it, and it's part two. It's part two of an eyeshadow palettes tag. I have to be honest, I don't know where part one is, what part one is. I just saw this and I thought it was such a fun idea, especially because I haven't been taking the time to do my makeup as much lately because got a new baby. Things, just different priorities, you know what I mean? And so this sounded like such a fun way to like get back digging in my collection and like really in there swatching. That always gets me like super inspired and excited about using makeup again. So especially when like now I go these long stretches without wearing any or just barely wearing any at all. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. Okay, palette pick number one is the all-time favorite. And I have to say, it's cruel to put this one first. Like, this is easily the hardest one, and it, despite being the first, was the very last palette that I picked because it's so hard to pick favorites. You know what I mean? Like, especially when you love makeup and eyeshadows, how can you pick a favorite? So the one that I ended up picking was the Urban Decay Born to Run palette. This I don't think is available anymore. It had been on sale like on every website for the longest time, and I think it's finally out of stock and forever discontinued. So unfortunately you can't get it. But I think this is one a lot of people got because it is such a good palette. The reason that it is in my all-time favorites is because I think if my makeup collection disappeared tomorrow, or if I could only keep one eyeshadow palette, this would be it because it has everything inside. It has neutrals, flesh tones, classic bronzes, browns, colorful shades, and a bunch of different finishes too. It doesn't have like super interesting multi-chromatic shades, which would be, I mean, that would make this palette absolute perfection to me. But as far as like, man, this palette really covers all bases. It has colors that I love, like these khakis and greens, purples and berries and bronzes. Like it has everything that I love and I think could ever want out of an eyeshadow palette long term as far as colors and textures. And I remember when this came out, it was a hard one for me to put down. Like, it stayed in my daily rotation for probably longer than any eyeshadow palette ever has, which is when I realized this has to be my all-time favorite. The next category is new favorite, and this is not a new launch. It is just new to me. It is the Huda Beauty Naughty Nude palette, which I'm wearing on my eyes today. This is one that when I got, I think I mentioned this when in my last Sephora VIB sale haul, this is one of a few Huda Beauty palettes that I got, and I said this there, it remains true. I don't know why I waited so long to get this. This is like my dream color story. Chocolates and burgundies and pinks and taupes, like just absolutely gorgeous. I love her presentations of these newer palettes. She used to have cardboard design, and these are like a plastic with a mirror inside. It's just, I really like the shadows, the shadow quality, everything about Huda Beauty's palettes, but this one in particular is one that is new to me and is one that when I have been using eyeshadows, it's been one that I've reached for. Next is a palette that I've kept for the memories, and this is the Charlotte Tilbury Vintage Vamp Quad. And pretty simple reason for this. This is what I wore on my wedding day. I have a video, it's because I've been married for quite some time, it's that many years old, where I did like not a getting ready with me for the wedding day, but like a trial run for the makeup, and so you can see like how I use this in that video. Next category is underrated, and if you've been here with me on the channel for honestly any length of time, you'll probably know what I'm about to say. It is the Lorac Pro palettes. You guys, people need to stop sleeping on these. They are incredible. The quality is out of this world. I mean, the color stories aren't anything super special. You know, they're really not anything that hasn't been done before, but they are done to the Lorac Pro standard, which has only gotten better with time. These are so buttery. The mattes, I mean, the shimmers, obviously, very smooth, very buttery, almost like they're not a cream, but boy, if you closed your eyes and didn't know what you're putting your finger into, could be mistaken as a cream, in my opinion. They're just that smooth. But the mattes are the same way, and that can be hard to do with mattes. The palettes themselves are super smooth and like streamlined. Like I just think they're very sleek and nice to store, nice to travel with. I love everything about these palettes and the eyeshadows in them, and I just don't think they get enough love. If you want to see I think I have every single Lorac Pro palette along with the mini Pro palettes that I recently bought when they launched them over the holiday season. I will link to that video down below if you want to go see all of those swatches and hear my thoughts and comparisons of all of them, etc. But spoiler alert, I like them. They're amazing. They're worth every penny. Go get them. The next category is not a favorite but can't get rid of. And this was a weird one because I'm like, what would not be a favorite but I can't, like, why would I not get rid of it if it's not sentimental? But I can't get rid of it. And it finally dawned on me after I like visually scanned my collection. I realized these from Melt Cosmetics. These were stacks. They don't make them anymore, and they haven't for a while, but they're one of the first things I ever tried from Melt, and maybe one of the first things they launched. I feel like it went, I mean, not viral, but they got very popular on Instagram. And so seeing them all fanned out like this is one of the first brands that ever did these like magnetic stacks of shadows. And it was just so satisfying to see them like this. There's this one, which is more colorful and has this beautiful like goldy pink duochrome in it. And then there's also this neutrals. There's just matte, like, you know, flesh tones, that one. Very amazing all-purpose. Again, both of these are way too old for me to continue using them, and yet, how many declutters have they survived for them to still be in my collection? There's just something about like the shape and the memory of them that they manage to survive every time. I can't explain it. I don't know why I have kept them. It's not nostalgia. It's not, I don't know, but I can't seem to be able to get rid of them. Ooh, the next one is my favorite collab, and this one was super easy. Like, this came to mind immediately when I read that category. It is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Jackie Aina palette. Another one where the packaging is just as good as the shadows inside. It is so apparent to me that so much thought and love went into this palette. Like, how insanely gorgeous is that, first of all? And then when you look inside, this checks all the boxes for me. You have an array of shades and textures. Incredible contrast between the purples and the rusty reds and the greens. Like, there's just, this palette does it all. It's incredible to me. This is another one that probably came as close to the Born to Run palette at being like an all-time favorite for me, just because it does offer so much versatility. I've done a couple of videos using this. Maybe one video where I did like 3 or 4 looks using it that I can link to, but this, amazing. Next, let's talk about the 2021 eyeshadow favorite. And this I had to really look back to. This happens every year. Anytime I think about products that I loved over the course of a year, you realize how long a year seems to be when you think about the products that launched and you tried at the very beginning of the year. Like, it doesn't feel like it feels like forever ago. But the Urban Decay Wild West palette launched in February of 2021, and this had a hold on me. Again, very similar to the Jackie Aina palette. The reason that I like it is that mix of colors and textures. I love that they put contrasting blues and reds in here. When you can have one or the other. You can have like an all teal look, you can have an all goldy, bronzy red look, but then when you wear them together on the eyes, because they contrast, they pop so beautifully. Like, this is just such a beautiful and interesting color story to me. I love it. Like I said, once I picked this up, I did not put it down for quite some time. The next category is eyeshadow palette that I didn't expect to love. Yes. And that is the Revlon So Fierce eyeshadow quads. I have a video swatching all of these as well. And I don't know if it's because it's been a while since I've had a really solid drugstore quad experience. They tend to be hit or miss. Either there are some really stellar shadows in there, and then there's some like patchy, not so much, the colors aren't all there, there's too much repetition in the colors. Whatever the reason, I just feel like drugstore eyeshadow palettes are just not always hitting the mark for me. Every single one of these did it for me. These are wet dry formulas, so you can use them, you know, dry for a more soft, subtle look, or use them wet for a really amped up look. I love them, and I love the color combinations they have too. Like I said, I have a whole video swatching all of them if you want to check it out and really see like what is in the collection, but there really isn't a bad quad among them. Getting into a palette that sparks joy, I knew immediately that I was going to go for a Pat McGrath palette because as just in general, her palettes just make my heart go pitter patter. I think I have an obsession with her Mothership palettes, but of them, I think the one that really I'm just, it does it for me every single time is the, what is happening here? I love the packaging, even though it's quite a few of these are falling apart for me. It's artwork. I kind of can't bear to part with it. It is the Divine Rose 2 palette, and I got the, I don't know if this is limited edition, but there is the normal shiny black exterior. This is the like hot metallic pink exterior that I really love. This, and it's not there, apparently packaging is very big for me. This is not the first time I've mentioned that with any of these palettes, but I do just love a palette that's like beautiful inside and out. That's this one, hot metallic outside, and then inside, oh, incredible multi-chrome shade here. A beautiful, I mean, all the texture shades in this palette, you know, Pat McGrath does an incredible texture shade. Those, each one of these hits the mark. Plus you have your classics over here, including this hot pink, the multi-chrome, just like I just look at this and it's like, it's a slice of makeup perfection, if you know what I mean. Don't know how else to describe it. That's that. On to the newest palette in my collection. And this one I wasn't sure if it qualified. I wasn't sure if any of these had to be like set palettes that a brand created and launched as a, you know, a palette unto itself, or if it could be like a palette that I bought singles to create. Either way, that's where we landed with this one. The newest palette in my collection is one that I created using singles from Lethal Cosmetics. I had seen a couple of people use their newest multi-chrome collection that they launched, and I'd never heard of them as a brand. So I not only got as many of the multi-chromes as I could, I don't think I was able to get all of them from the new collection, but as many as I could, and then some from their other, you know, just the other general shades that they have. None of these are matte. They're all like either metallic or iridescent, or there is some sort of texture to them, and I am not mad at it one bit. I actually, the video right before this, I was, well, the full length video, I was wearing a couple of these in that video, and then in between I've uploaded a short, which is a tutorial of the look that I'm wearing in that. Does any of that make sense? I will link the videos that I'm talking about down below. I uploaded a short where I'm wearing a combination of like purples and greens from this palette on my eyes. And they're like multi-chromatic shades. So a couple of you in the extended video where I'm talking about mascaras but happen to be wearing shadows from this palette, a couple of you were like, interesting choice to wear two different eyeshadow looks. I'm not. I'm just wearing the same look but multi-chromatic shadows, and because there's studio light in front of me, natural light coming from this way, and like iridescent light coming from this way, it just looks like they're two different shades because of the way the shadows play with those different kinds of light. So that is one reason why I love multi-chromatic shadows, although another reason why you have to be careful. Otherwise, if you are unevenly lit, people will look at you and apparently comment on the fact that they think you're wearing two different eye looks, but what are you gonna do? All right, now last up. The last category is the first palette used in 2022, which again is not a new palette. It's new to me, but it's nowhere near new to launch. This is the Huda Beauty Rose Gold Palette Remastered. Again, I mentioned this when I talked about the Naughty Nude palette, but in the recent Sephora VIB sale, I decided to just get all of the Huda Beauty eyeshadow palettes because I love her eyeshadow formula. And I had yet to try the new version of the Rose Gold palette, and this did not disappoint. So basically, all of that happened to be sitting on my desk come the end of the year, and as I was putting stuff away, I kept this out because one thing I loved about the original was what an easy everyday palette this is. You have your colorful shades so you can play in there if you want, but you also have your basic, just very essential, like nude matte shades in here. It makes it just so easy. So this was what I happened to wear first thing, I mean, not like January 1st, but like the first time I put on makeup and put on eyeshadow, this was the palette that I used. So that is the eyeshadow palette tag. I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I know we all love a good eyeshadow swatch, so hopefully you got lots of those in this video. I would love for you to let me know down in the comments below. I'll list the questions in the description, so if you want to answer them in the comments, please feel free to do so. And also go check out Michelle Wong's video as well. She has some really great picks there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye guys.